What's up, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some acid-trance, and indeed, we're back with some more Nostrum, though this is a record he put out on Noom, and presumably for, legal or whatever reasons, he didn't use the Nostrum name, he changed it to Nostradamus. We're talking about Bernd Augustinski. As I mentioned, I believe he's the son of an actor, like Pierre Augustinski. But for those of us who know his acid trance from the 90s, you will know how amazing it is. It's one of those things where the later releases he did, like the last album or two, I want to say post-2000, or the last couple, EPs maybe, I don't have all of his stuff, but I have pretty much everything from the 90s. And it's funny, I mentioned in the video where I did the End that there's a version of the End that came out on the End EP, which I have a white label of, that's the one we listened to. There's a version of the End on Parish Fair, which is a different version of the same track. I noticed when I was flipping through and I was getting ready to do this reaction that the Nostrum singles collection is like 2 records. There's the End hard trance mix there, and it's a different version. So I have at least 3 different versions of the End, and it's not the only one. As I mentioned, I like Waking Up the House. There are different versions of that. So as a person who in the 90s just had acid trance creativity and variations of tunes just like bubbling out of his head. But again, for those of us who know him, you know that he's famous for blending acid and melody. His tunes are often very emotional and very trance in their stylings, but the acid is like the prominent feature, and in many tracks it's sort of like is powerful and bubbling and aggressive and so on. It's that old school acid trance flavor, very energetic, very acid drenched, and again, like very atmospheric, especially, like I said, there are a lot of tunes that I think his most famous works are on Time Unlimited. The vast majority of his catalog is on Time Unlimited. But like I said, this is a very famous release as well, under the name Nostradamus. It's called the Cloister EP. We're going to listen to the main track, which is called Injection. It's a long tune. It's about 9.5 minutes, so I'll stop gabbing away. We'll get right to it. Let me check if there's a year written here. If not, I'll check it while it gets started. It doesn't show it. So yeah, this is Noom 12. I'm going to guess 1996. But let's find out. So here we go. Nostradamus, a.k.a. Nostrum, a.k.a. Bernd Augustinski. Noom 12. Injection. Number 1, love that sort of up in the sky sort of melody, but there's this deep pulse too, right? Boom. Now an ambient pad, but a bit of a dark tone to it. So this is 1995, a year earlier than I thought even. 38 copies of it for sale, so there's no shortage of copies. Oof. That pop has to be drug tested for steroids after the event. Deep, low-end acid layer. Oh. Now sort of acid bass line in place. The kick's just gonna drop in. It's just gonna alright, let it go. Again, the atmosphere, the trance stylings. Also very tasty. Alright, kick drum, we're waiting on you, buddy. Still in his dressing room, okay, I'm gonna kill this track. Oh, it sort of, maybe it creeps in. sort of really in a trance with the sort of the atmosphere of the tune. A testament to the quality of the production stylings of Mr. Nostradamus. His tunes are fast always. That's another thing to point out. Like, not like the crazy, like really, 160, like whatever hard trance, but definitely faster than some other hard trance artists. Faster, I would say, than like Commander Tom, Although I don't know, Mandala stuff is pretty fast. I mean, I guess it's on par with a lot of other 90s hard trance, but real electric buzzing layer, louder, growing more and more. There's like a drag to it, stretching. Louder still. But still the baseline layer, that low end kind of like rolling layer. And now, like, we're not going into a breakdown, no. We're going from a like trot to a full fucking gallop. When acid trance pumps you up as much as acid techno. Interlude, stripped down. It never felt like a breakdown, but we have like briefly taken some elements out, but you know they're about to be dropped right back in. Set the track on fire. Those sort of old school vocal trance synths. Old school but great. And the acid, like fucking hell. Back to that real stretchy, sort of like grinding kind of quality. Burning hotter and hotter. More pops in this copy than I remember. I mean, it's not a bad condition by any means, but there's been a few pops along the way. That's like the 5th or 6th one I've noticed. Maybe gotta get my hands on another one of those 38 copies or whatever. No, I have to prioritize. I remember, like, so the kit comes back, but it takes out some more of that, like, support layer. So it's like real stripped down, right? Then we're gonna pop back in the bass line and an acid line. But first that little percussion. like a solar flare, just getting brighter and brighter, and it's like you can stand there, you can put on protective goggles, you can do like whatever, but eventually like it will consume us all. Those vocal synths again or no? I don't remember. One more like full ride out? Time Unlimited, but Noom got a good one from last night. I'm just sad we never got to see like Pablo on Noom or Time Unlimited. We need more cross-pollination. It's like in-section snare bells. And then release a little tension. Listen to the acid box. It's like a bristly fucking mohawk on the way out the tune. Incredible. Honestly, it's amazing. It's funny, I commented on this record on Discogs after someone else had, and they had mentioned a tune on the other side. One is Onyx, one is Veto. I think it was Onyx that they like really highlighted. I don't think that's the best tune on the record. I do think we just heard the best tune on the record. Regardless, I do think the other two tracks are good. They're just like a slower, kind of like more twisty, plodding kind of acid trance. This one is the real, sort of acid jet screamer. But again, I do like the other two tunes, but I absolutely am convinced that that's the best track on the vinyl. So let me know if you disagree, let me know if you do agree, let me know if you're a big fan of his work as well. Again, most of it is on Time Unlimited. I have the vast majority of that. Took me a little while to get it. It was only, in the last decade or so through Discogs that I eventually was able to like really sort of flesh out and complete most of the Nostrum 90s collection. Although, I have had some of them. I had the Baby and Polaris, and what's the third track on that one? Had that one for a long time now. Really do love that one. May have to react to it. I do remember that record I've used a lot and has some pops in it, and I think Polaris might even have a proper skip. I used it in one of my acid-trance sessions. It was like after the original. I made the first, I think 2 acid-trance sessions way back in the day, like 2014, 2015, something like that. And then, beginning of this year, I realized with the help of my friend Marcin that I could make videos on my own. I didn't need to pester him and can you sync this and do whatever, and I realized I could do it on my own, so I started recording a lot, and I've now done something like 16 acid trance sessions. But one of the early ones I used Polaris, and I remember it skipping during the mix and being like, oh, brokenhearted, because you can deal with a little surface noise, whatever. A skip is not only like noticeable because it throws off the audience's rhythm, but depending on where it is, it can be a pain to mix in or out. You either have to like work around it or find like a soft mix in or whatever. So yeah, but we'll get to that one eventually, skip or no. Let me know if you have a favorite tune by Nostrum. A lot of people like Brilliant, and a lot of people like Brainchild. Everyone's Future? No, that's a Pablo tune. But was it Brainchild? There's a tune that sounds just like Everyone's Future, and people have said, oh, it's weird that they, I don't mind. They have a tune that sort of has a similar vibe. There was there were trance, like, sort of stylings in the air on records in the mid-90s, so again, sometimes it happens with like acid line. Sometimes like, oh, it sounds a lot like the acid line in that one. I don't think there's any nefarious intent. I think just sometimes people are working toward a similar vibe and they end up making a tune that is very, very similar. But yeah, like I said, let me know if you have a favorite Nostrum tune that you'd like me to react to. Let me know if you have anything to say about his work in general. Love to hear more acid trance people out there. As I always say, acid trance forever. Thank you for watching. If you have a request, do let me know. Other than that, have a good day, have a good night. I'll see you next time. Peace.